Hello, everyone, and welcome. Let's get right into it. Basically, you're an architect now. This whole creating a world business wasn't just a bunch of cool words that I threw together. That's something you're actually going to do. Oh, but don't worry, you're not on your own. I'm here to guide you throughout the process, and that starts with just a few simple things. So, because this is your imagination that you're relying on, in theory, brainstorming should be pretty simple. The reality is, though, that it can be a little bit more difficult, so it's really important for you to sit with your ideas, think about what you want to accomplish with your world. Just jot down notes, take ideas down, watch movies, get inspiration. All right, so I'm sure that a lot of us have heard of these shows, movies, these fictional universes. Perhaps some of us even keep up with them. I know that I do with a few of these examples. There's lots of other examples, such as Pirates of the Caribbean, Disney, Marvel, you name it. The thing is, for each of these universes, they didn't start as fully formed worlds right from the start. When J.K. Rowling came up with Harry Potter, Hogwarts hadn't been fully developed yet. Lots of planning goes into these universes, and without a good, solid plan, they wouldn't be the masterpieces that we know and love. Before we dive into each of these elements that make up a fictional universe, I thought that I would go over the whole outline. So there's many different ways to approach this, but in general, these are some good rules to be aware of when beginning to create a fictional universe. So starting with setting, rules, environment, inhabitants, history and culture, and language. I will be discussing all of these in greater detail on the following pages. Setting is arguably the most important aspect to nail down. That is, what kind of world would you like to build? Think of it as baking a pizza. The crust is the foundation upon which everything else is built, and in the same way, the setting will be the foundation for the rest of your fictional universe. Whether this is a wizarding world, a universe where people time travel, or a post-apocalyptic world that's been overrun by aliens, the world is your oyster. Once you decide on a setting, you're ready for the next step. Rules. We don't always love them, but they are a necessary evil, and the same rings true in a fictional universe. To follow the pizza analogy, if setting is the crust, then rules are the sauce. It's the basis for all the toppings and what keeps them all from just falling off of the dry crust. Rules keep a fictional world consistent, which will save you lots of headaches when you begin the writing process. These are just a few things you might consider when developing rules for your world. They are not by any means an exhaustive list. You might not address all of these. You might be addressing different things in your own world. That's totally okay. Rules aren't just helpful, they're necessary. If Lumos didn't always mean light, how trustworthy would Harry Potter spells even be? The same goes for your universe. No matter what your rules are that you establish, just make sure that you're being consistent with them and following them as you continue to write your universe. Now it's time to get into some of the specifics, starting with environment. What is it like in your world? Are the inhabitants indigenous to the land? And if they're not, what's their relationship to it? Are there natural disasters to be aware of? What resources do inhabitants rely on? What is the weather like? These are just some of the things you can consider when writing the environment in your fictional universe. Speaking of inhabitants, are they human? If not, what are they? This is really important to establish before you even get into your story. History and culture are elements of real life that should also be incorporated into your fictional universe. This will create a framework for how your characters experience their day-to-day lives. Is there a central conflict? How diverse are your characters? Are there any noteworthy traditions to mention or holidays that they might observe? Communication is key. This is something that I think we can all agree on. Aside from just asking yourself what language your inhabitants will be speaking or how many different ways of communication there will be in your universe, make sure to also consider what sensitive words or topics there may be. By creating boundaries like these within language, it adds an additional level of depth to your story, even potentially adding some conflict for later down the line. Where do we go from here? Well, that's all you. We will be discussing each of these steps in greater detail over the course of this unit, and I really look forward to working with you all to see what stories everyone comes up with. Happy building!